Welcome back to the channel today, guys. Now, I think my favorite show this season, guys, is still Ocean to Cove, even after a couple weeks into the season. But, big old but, and I will not lie, the show I'm the most excited for each week is still Hell's Paradise. Mappa has done an absolutely incredible job with this show. And this episode is no different, because today we take a step back from Gabimaru and Sagiri, because we've been focusing on them for so much, and we really start breaking down the other inmates, the other criminals brought to hell here. And it's really good, because we get to really get into their mindsets of what they want to do on this island, and how much they want to survive. It's honestly been a great episode today, so let's just get straight into it and talk about Hell's Paradise, episode 4 today. Now, our episode begins as we hear the words of Loki, one of my favorite characters in the show, as we hear, known as the Blade Dragon, and unparalleled in 8 provinces. When I stopped finding men stronger than me, a lord named something or other Tatsumi, whoever he is, asked me to become his officer. He was a great man who took pride in his great mansion. His name's characters made him a dragon as well, so I agreed, in exchange for room and board. But it's here we see that in life, all too quickly, some things just don't work out. As we see that Tamiya has a bit of an attitude. Let's just say that. Our friend here has a bit of anger issues, if you will. As we see that his little anger issues is what got him sentenced to death to begin with. As we see his Asamone tell him, I don't quite understand you. As Tamiya says, if you ask me, you people make even less sense. Those tools you're wearing are for dissections, aren't they? What a gloomy little man you are. Does the food you earn beheading criminals taste good, whatever you moan? As he gets corrected and is told, I'm an Asamone. I'm Yamada Asamone Fuchi. And it's here he informs Tamiya that, beheadings aren't the Yamada clan's only trade. We're far more useful to society than your deadbeat ass. As he tells him, discoveries about the human body can help advance medicine and help people. It's a noble purpose, so I won't allow you to insult us. As we see that he is deathly serious. And as Tamiya breaks his binds after backing down, he says, whatever then. Just try not to get in my way, kid, okay? And it's here as they're walking through the forest, and Tamiya is explaining to him his idea of taking out the other competition. We see that everyone's thinking the same, by the way. We hear Fuchi think to himself that, this job is like crafting insect poison. The longer you wait, the stronger the surviving venomous insects. Will this really end well for us? Not all of the venomous insects are here now. If the Shogunate runs out of patience, they'll send the next batch of insects. Stronger, more venomous insects. Meaning that if they take too long here, the Shogunate is going to send more people to the island. Far more dangerous people. But it's here as we play out the events from our previous episode. We see that there are bigger things to worry about right now. Far bigger things. As our situation goes from 0 to 1,000,000 in a matter of hours. And as we transition back to Gabimaru and Sagiri, we see that the fight has only just begun. And it's here that Gabimaru notices that these creatures are wearing prayer beads. As he says, is this a monster or a living creature? Its appearance is ridiculously fantastical. That's an understatement. And as we see this creature attack Gabimaru, we see him easily smash its head in, but then immediately get thrown around like a doll. And it's here as he thinks back on the words of his chief, who told him that you should not fight an enemy you know nothing about. He thinks to himself, should we run right now? Should it be the two of us? or just me? But it's here as Gabimaru gets grabbed again and tossed around like a toy again. He finally comes to the realization that this place is extremely dangerous, even for me. As he tells Sagiri, we need to run now. But before they can do that, we see the true horrors of this island come to light. As we see that Sagiri is starting to feel a little bit overwhelmed, and for good reason. And it's here in this moment, as they're surrounded by all sides by these creatures, Gabimaru realizes what he has to do as he tells himself, stop thinking, and springs into action. As we see, he starts eviscerating these monsters one after another with his ninjutsu. As he's telling himself, don't think, just kill, so you can survive. So you can acquire the pardon and escape this bloody world. Just kill. And as we see Sagiri watching the bloodshed unfold, we see this place is finally starting to get to her. And frankly, who can really blame her in this instance? As she asks herself, am I in paradise or hell? And it's here Sagiri is attacked by these monsters and about to be cut down by one. Gabimaru has to tell himself, don't worry about anything else right now. Just focus on the enemies in front of you. She's not your concern. But instinctually, without even realizing it, he ends up saving her. And he himself is shocked that he did that. But it's here, right as things are about to get out of hand, they're suddenly saved as we see the appearance of Yuzuriha, aka Best Girl. Guys, I've been saying she's Best Girl since she first appeared in episode 2. And this episode, we're really going to break down why, baby. And it's here as Gabimaru thanks them for saving their lives. He also adds in, what are you doing here, though? We're rivals, you know. And it's here she very quickly changes the subject as she says, wow, you seem super dependable, Gabi. You even just saved her right now, didn't you? You know, why don't we work together intimately? I'm so scared of this dangerous place. I'll do whatever you say. But Gabimaru, as the Giga Chad he is, has to tell her in his own way, we don't love these hoes. As he tells her, you can't seduce me. I'm extremely familiar with Konoichi methods. As she tells him, well, I just wanted to try it out, you know, it was worth a try. As she adds, you know, I'm serious about working together, though. 5 people safer than 3, after all. And it's in this moment Sagiri finally asks the extremely glaring question that's been here the whole time. Why do you have 2 Asamon with you? As one of the men introduced themselves as Yamada Asamon Genji. As he says, I was originally assigned to Moro Makia, the apostate. But Makia died when he was fooled by this woman here. I deemed a single executioner insufficient to control her, so I decided to accompany them. And I love the fact that Gabimaru and Sagiri both collectively agree that, yeah, she definitely seduced him, right? She definitely seduced this man. And it's here the other man introduces himself as Yamada Asamon Senta, the person that was actually assigned to her. As Yuzuriha says, we ran into crazy bugs, monsters, and statues on our way here. Finding the elixir as quickly as possible is important, but there's no point in blindly charging in and dying without a plan. That's true, to be fair. As Gabimaru asks her, aren't you the one that said I was disappointing before? As she says, did I do that? I don't know. I don't know if I did that. And I love how Gabimaru just looks at Sagiri and points at her saying, is this chick for real? Is she for real right now? As Sagiri tells him, as long as you both agree to it, then I guess there's no problem with you working together. But as she gets a little too clingy and Gabimaru puts her in an armbar again, he tells her flat out, I can't trust the Kunoichi. As Yuzuriha says, trust, huh? Come on, we're not kids here. As we see that she's actually able to reverse the situation and get him into a leg lock and tells him, we can betray each other at any time. Even if we find the elixir, only one of us will be pardoned. I'm just suggesting we use each other for as long as possible. Or is it that you're scared of me? As you guys can see, Yuzuriha is a very good manipulator. She just hit the nail on the head. As Gabimaru asks her, okay, how would working with you benefit me? As she tells him, you'll offer your strength in exchange for my information. For example, you seem to think the monsters are a threat, but the real danger here is the bugs. As we see human-faced butterflies, they fly around monsters and their nests and behavior are unknown. Their scales seem to contain hallucinogens and poison. And as she gets asked why she knows that, which is a really good question by the way, she tells them, why, Moro Makima, of course. I got close to him and talked him into it. I tested them on him. The centipedes are gross, but you can safely ignore them. They only eat dead flesh. There are some other bugs too, but they don't attack unless approached. And as Gabimaru asks what happened to Moro, she tells him nonchalantly, oh, I got him to let his guard down by playing dead, and I killed him. Again, quite a dangerous woman, I might add. As Senta adds, many of the items worn by the monsters feature Buddhist or Taoist designs. Buddhism and Taoism are different religious traditions, so it's extremely strange to see them mixed together. I have trouble believing this island is truly paradise. As Yuzuriha says, see, there's so much that we don't know. We should work together and gather information. But it's here we see that Gabimaru is not a fool at all, as he asks her flat out, why are you revealing so much to us? Are you that desperate to survive? And it's in this moment right here that we start to get a glimpse of who Yuzuriha really is, as she tells him, do I need a reason to want to survive? Some deep personal motivation? Well, I've got nothing like that. I don't want to die while I'm still so young. That's all. As she adds, you know, you samurai just wouldn't understand that. After all, you risk your lives just because the shogun wills it, and you never even question it. And upon hearing her explanation, Gabimaru has one more question for her, and it's the most important one. What did you actually do to Moro Makia? As she tells him with the coldest eyes, nothing. You care about the lives of others, don't you, Gabimaru? Well, that's gonna get you killed. And it's here, after getting a pretty good idea of how dangerous this woman really is, he decides, fine, we'll work together for now. But it's here, as we see she's watching these events play out in front of her, we see that Sagiri is not doing good at all. As she asks herself, what have I done since arriving on this island? I lost my bearings against those monsters, and I let the situation overwhelm me. What purpose have the sword skills I honed served? I'm actually, truly powerless. As she actually passes out right then. Now, I can see people giving Sagiri shit after what happened this episode. And I kind of get it. You know, because in this episode, she's basically just a damsel in distress. Let's be completely honest about it. But here's the thing I want everyone to remember, is the fact that no one is prepared for this place. No one was prepared. All common sense and everything you thought you knew about the world doesn't apply here. Throw it all out the window. So this reaction of hers in this episode is actually, it makes perfect sense when you really think about it. And she's not the only one that feels overwhelmed. We'll leave it at that for now. I just wanted to let you know, because I could see a lot of people saying, yo, Sagiri's trash after this episode. Give it time. And it's here as we transition to our next scene. We're going to transition to another set of inmates as we hear change is strength. As we see that this man here became an agent of the Yamada clan within a month of joining it. Very impressive. As we hear Aizen say, impressive. The final step in your training is for you to execute a criminal so we can add a name to your list, your name to the list. As our character who's named Toma says, I have one request. Because it's here as we transition to our next scene and we see him visiting Asa actually in prison, we realize that these two are actually brothers and this is a part of their plan. As Toma says, wow, not even a word of thanks for your younger brother who infiltrated the Yamada clan and achieved this status within a month? How ungrateful. As Chobi asks him, so, how are we getting out of here? As Toma tells him, there's apparently a way to make them stop pursuing us, as he shows him the same scroll Sagiri showed Gabimaru in episode 1 from the Shogunate. As we just hear, change means changing yourself according to the situation. Quickly appraising a situation and understanding it. Some situations can be difficult to understand. As we see, they've come face to face with the creatures of this island. And as Chobi starts tearing into these monsters, we just hear, my brother's strength is how quickly he understands situations. He always does. Even when the Lord our father served committed an outrage. At Edo Castle and our clan was disbanded. Even when our mother died while we were living in poverty. And even when our father was executed for avenging his lord. As we see that these two have lived an incredibly tough life. As we hear, and even when we were attacked by bandits as well. My brother immediately understood the situation and ultimately ended up controlling it. We don't live in a world where the strong prey on the weak. We live in a world where it's survival of the fittest. And it's those who can adapt that are strong. And it's here as we transition back to the fighting, they realize that there's no point in continuing this fight, and they decide to flee. As Toma adds, the one thing that hasn't changed over the years is that I'm a burden to my brother, as he actually ends up getting caught. And it's in this moment he thinks that he's been abandoned by his brother. As he says, those who cannot change are unnecessary. And that's why my brother is strong. And it's here as Toma's fighting for his life, thinking that he's been abandoned. All of a sudden, Chobi comes back and saves him. But it's here all of a sudden, he suddenly gets struck in his face as we get the creepiest scene in our entire episode. As we just hear, murder is a sin. As they realize that these creatures can actually talk, which makes them far more disturbing, if you ask me. And it's here as these creatures start prattling on about sin this, sin that. Chobi reminisces about the fact that through his entire life, they've been told the same thing over and over again. As he says, I'm sick of hearing about crimes and sins. As he says, evil, sin, I don't give a shit. You're the ones who decided that. You're slaves to righteousness. You're puppets without your own desires. And I'm not letting anyone else tell me what to do. I'm my own Lord. I'm my own God. And as Toma watches all this unfold, he says, my brother's strength is change. And because he changes, it always comes to the fore. His unyielding sense of self. And it's here as we transition to a flashback. We see that Toma took their new life incredibly hard. They were the son of samurai, but now they're reduced to bandits. And he doesn't know what's right anymore. As Chobi grabs him and says, "Don't cry, Toma. You show any weakness and you'll die. If you don't know what's right, then trust me. I'm your older brother, and I'm always right." And as we transition back to the present, we hear Chobi say, "I've made up my mind. We'll kill every last monster and criminal, and then no one can stop us from finding the elixir. Not even death will be able to tell us how to live." And it's here Toma tells him, "Will it really go so well, though? This island is a very dangerous place. Anyone else we meet will be another survivor. The threats here are that great, and the weak will be weeded out." And with that, our episode ends. Now, these two brothers have always had a really interesting relationship to me. A very codependent relationship. Kind of unhealthy in a way, if you think about it. Because Toma, throughout his whole life, has felt like he's held Chobi back. And to put it bluntly, he kind of has. So we're really going to break down their dynamic over the course of this season. Really find out what's going on between them. It's going to be great. And I really enjoyed this episode, guys. You know, we really got to see the perspective of everyone else on the island this time. And we really got to see how things are going to be here. How it's going to be survival of the fittest. Make pacts with people. Stab people in the back. It's going to be a lot of that. And it's going to be a really good time. So I hope you guys are enjoying the reviews. And I'd love to hear your comments on this episode down below. But until next time, guys, I hope you have a great day, week, month, and year. And until then, deuces, have a blessed day, and I'll see you guys next time. Deuces.